talk more about our own experience of the stock market, some things that we've learned, and we could talk a bit also about halal investing and cryptocurrencies, because
also I want to mention halal finance as well. Halal finance isn't the same as halal investing, but it kind of all plays together, all sort of in one big bunch.
Definitely. So yeah, so we can maybe kick off just the beginning of the kind of essentials of what we've learned, and maybe just some learnings for you guys if you're interested in taking part in the stock market. But the big thing that I've learned is just make sure you are very much in control of your financial situation right now, and that you have clear goals and you're managing your risk clearly, because you need to recognize the risks. I think a big part is, don't think about how much you're going to make from the stock market. Think about how much you could lose. And if you take that and you really mitigate your risk, I think you'll be more successful. Because I think one big mistake that investors make is they don't cut their losses when they should cut their losses, and they hope, for example, if you've lost money in investing, you're hoping for a rebound, and sometimes that doesn't come. So that's my biggest piece of advice. Taf?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Like when you set up a trade, you should be setting up, okay, this is my buy position, but what is my risk management strategy? Where's my sell position? If this thing tanks, when we say tanks, we mean literally a water tank. It goes below, what I was expecting, then I just have to cut my losses. Okay, I'll make 5% loss or 2% loss. It's better than 100% loss. Exactly. And that's what I was saying earlier. Your every single trade isn't gonna like work out for you. So you just have to get that in your mind, and maybe then if you're looking to start trading, maybe look at a few different things that so that would be my advice. Don't try and like sort of trade in things you don't know about. So if you don't know anything about sort of I don't know, sort of plant-based meat products, then don't trade in it. If you don't know, like Beyond is a company, for example, don't trade in it, because if you don't know, for example, that okay, Beyond Burgers are releasing a new product, but they found meat in their product, and now all of the people that were buying Beyond are not going to buy it anymore. It's going to affect the share price. So if you don't know that, if you don't know like the basics about the company, what it does and where it's headed, you could end up losing money. So you say, yeah, everything from the charts look good, and then when you actually make the trade, you lose money. So stick to what you know, and that's it. I think let's talk more about this in the next segment. So we'll be back after these messages.
We are back on 94.0 FM. We are hanging out with the Halal Hangouts crew. We're talking about investing. We've been talking about GameStop. We've been talking about how, we have a focus really on risk management from the very, very little time that we've been investing ourselves. But we're definitely all should be investing for growth, and as opposed to taking risks in the stock market. And Taf made a really good point around making sure you recognize the risks and having a stop loss in, essentially. I think you focus on 5%. That's what I look at as well. In terms of before you start kind of choosing your stocks, because I think there's obviously you mentioned it, like you should know your markets. Is there any specific markets that you look at? Is there any specific markets that you are most interested in, that you analyze for opportunities?
So aviation, technology, really sort of tech companies, sort of cloud computing and general distributed computing, like anything to do with computers, basically, you know, things like Amazon, Apple, any technology companies. That's what I know, and you know, that's my thing. And aviation is something that I was involved in, you know, about 7-8 years ago now. So I know a little bit about what goes into that. So those are the two areas that I mainly focus in. And technology is very broad, right? Things from sort of electric cars to spaceships. You know, those are the, you know, it's a very broad spectrum. But because I'm interested in engineering and technology, I'm up to date. I know what's going on. I don't know anything about, like, you know, fashion lines and stuff like that, as you can probably tell. So I try to avoid those.
So yeah, so excuse me. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It's important to have, I think, like an interest in that sector. I mean, you can obviously make money from any sector if you know what if you know what you're doing. But I think having an interest in the sector is important, because then you will, you know, then you will actually, I think personally, you'd make better decisions, because you're looking at the emerging opportunities. You're really thinking about how you're investing, you know, your strategy, for whether that's to generate an income or through growth. So I agree with you. And the other thing that I think we should mention is, if you know the market. Let's say, for example, I like tech companies, so I'll look at, you know, your Apples, Amazons, Googles. I also like EV right now, so with Tesla and Neo. I will look at these markets and understand what my strategy will be. So is it a bull market, i.e. is it the share price increasing? Is the sentiment positive? Or is it a bear market, which is the opposite, share price decreasing? And you need to know your strategies when you're going through those waves, because the stock markets move through waves. So if you understand the markets, the sentiment, you have an interest, then you can make better decisions. You know, you think, well, you know, Tesla, Neo, EV's the future. I'm going to hold my position. You know, I've got it as a long-term investment. I have a feeling that these companies, even if they're overvalued, I think they're going to do well, you know, in the next 3 to 5 years. That might be, you know, for example, my strategy. And whereas, like you said before, if I was thinking about, you know, let's say financial services or finance, to be honest, to me, I don't really have much of an interest in it. So I'm not going to be as in tune with what's going on, to be honest, because I'm not interested. So I might make the incorrect decisions. I might not know when to sell, when to hold, which companies to invest in. You know, you have to, it's enjoyable when you know the sector and you know that you're interested in electric vehicles, you're interested in technology platforms, you read about them, you invest time in them, you probably use the company, you probably spend money on the company. So it's something that you're happy to invest in. And I think that should go with anything, right, in life. If you have your own business, because it's kind of like having a business, isn't it? Investing is like running your own business. If you're going to invest money into something, you want to know the ins and outs. You want to know that where you're putting your money is safe and that you have an interest in that market and you understand how the business might operate. So it's just you know, we're definitely not financial advisors and we're novices, like we're beginners, but I think there's some certain things that you can just take as general rules.
Yeah.
Shift gears. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's move the conversation onto the halal aspect. Obviously, we're halal hangouts. We try and keep things halal. Doesn't always work out that way, but you know, you try your best in life. And halal finance and halal investing is an interesting topic. It's like, I was at a talk about 10 years ago, 5 years ago now, 5 years ago. And Sheikh Usman Taqi, who is one of the lead financial scholars in the world, was there. And one of the key things that came out in that talk, it wasn't actually from Usman Taqi himself. It was from someone else in that talk. They said, if the Muslims in this country were as careful with their halal, with their finance. So they stuck to halal sort of financial products and things like that. As they were with halal meat, the industry would be completely different. The landscape would be completely different to where we are now, where there's only a few companies that offer halal finance products, like so for halal loans, etc., etc. So that's something that really resonated with me, and that's what I wanted to start with. But then I wanted to talk about halal investing, and I wanted you, Shaz, to kind of maybe let's start a little dialogue around, you know, how you pick your stocks, because halal investing is just investing, but looking at things that are halal and not, you know, the companies are halal and they do something that not, you can never get 100%, but you know, like 85-90% of their what they do it works within your ethical framework. So like, you know, just kind of what do you do to kind of pick stocks? How do you kind of go about that?
It's a good question. I mean, to be honest, I'm not. I mean, when I pick stocks, the first thing I am considering, obviously, is who am I investing in, and but my portfolio, when I do invest, is quite diversified, so it's different types of companies. However, I think what works for me is being diversified, but not being in too many markets or too many sectors that you can't kind of keep your finger on the pulse. So when I say diversified, for example, within tech and electronic vehicles, I will have, you know, a number of companies, but within those two market sectors. And I might have, you know, a couple of others like within retail, for example. But I will try and stay clear of ones that don't align with me ethically. For example, you know, obviously tobacco or alcohol, or, you know, certain financial services, those kind of industries where, or within entertainment, there might be certain big industries. So those type of industries I won't invest in. And that is because of what you say. Like I try to keep a recognition or a moral compass as to where I'm investing my money.
Yeah, it's the same with you shopping, right? You know, there's at the moment, one of the biggest trends is sort of ethical shopping, fair trade shopping, and organic, and looking at where is this meat sourced from. You know, were children used to produce my t-shirts, you know, where they pay them like 10p a day or whatever it is. So it's something that we have the privilege of living in, you know, the top 95th percentile of the world, you know, 5% of the world, sorry. So we have that luxury. A lot of people don't, but you know, you do. So if we're doing that for what we buy, then as in like what we're wearing and eating, then there's no reason why you shouldn't do that for what you're investing. And there's some products out there that kind of help you in these. Have you heard of any sort of like halal investment type products that just take all of that sort of due diligence away and then just, you know, manage it for you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously Wahid Invest is one that is quite popular right now. They've got, you know, like over 150,000 clients right now, which is phenomenal. I mean, they're a halal investing app, and we know some of the brothers that work over there. And you know, they've got some really good recognition on, you know, on some big mainstream news sites. You know, you're talking Bloomberg and Forbes and Yahoo Finance, which, you know, big players in the game. So they've got they're building their brand, you know, and they're really penetrating this kind of halal investment market. They basically have like, I think, £100 minimum investment, and then you can basically invest into their portfolio. So they have like I think quite a varied portfolio, and you can invest across their portfolio.